Guys, another episode of the Serious But Not Too Serious podcast. It's your host with the most, MC Unruly, Lou Fresh. They call me so many other names, but it's the Serious But Not Too Serious podcast. And we're here again. Special guest in the building, one of my day ones. But today he's going to be talking about a couple of things. He's had a very interesting experience in life. And the first time I heard him talk about his experience, I picked up a few things. And then I thought about it, we bring interesting people in this podcast. And one of the most interesting experiences I've heard is his. Because of his varied experience in America, coming from Nigeria, he has a lot of things to say. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a repeat guest, but let me allow him introduce himself. His first time on the Serious But Not Too Serious podcast. This is going to be not the first time, not that this is the first time, it's not the last time. So get used to this man, but I'm going to let him go ahead and introduce himself.
Hello, folks. My name is America. I live and work in Dallas, Texas. I'm happy to be here. So, serious but not too serious.
That's it.
I'm serious all the time. This is gonna be serious for me.
Yeah.
So,
but guess what?
What?
That's the name of this podcast. It reflects my personality. I have a very, sometimes I come off as unserious because I joke a lot, but I do have very, very strong stance on a couple of subjects. So I go in between the lines. I have a strong belief system. I have a strong conviction, and that's because I read a lot and I experience a lot. But when I experience and go through life, I like to learn. I take life as a journey. When you go through a journey, and it's a very interesting journey, you want to take notes. So I'm taking notes all the time. But along the way, I'm always cracking jokes, making people laugh. But I, want people to understand that this is not a game.
Oh, yeah.
That's how I came up with the name of this podcast.
Oh, I'm gonna pick on that because when you said something about life being a journey. Believe me, being on this journey for like a really, really long time. I've been on the planet for close on 5 decades. So if you talk about journey, I've been on it. It's not over yet. And I'll start from about 25 years ago when I joined the working class in Nigeria. I had huge dreams.
Wait, what did you study in school, and how did you get in from school to work?
Okay, in school, I was one of the few who was opportune to uh, study in 2 different campuses of the same university. So I studied engineering.
What school was that?
The University of Nigeria.
Nsukka.
Nsukka
Okay.
and Enugu campuses.
Okay.
So I studied engineering at Nsukka, and at the same time, I was an accountant at Enugu campus of the same school.
Wait, so they have dual degrees in Nigeria now? Or then? Here you could do like 2 degrees, right? You could do a major in one and do a minor in another one. But I didn't know they had. Did they have that kind of thing in Nigeria?
No, they didn't. This wasn't official. It was like off of the records because I had to do it. It was a chance thing. You know how you write jam the first time, and you get the course you want to study, and then a friend is trying to get into the university too, and taps you to there's something we used to do back then. It wasn't right, but a lot of us did it. We buy 2 jam forms and get the two forms submitted at the same time, and increase the chances of being placed in the same center for the exams. You help the other candidates, write the subjects that he has chosen. So I did that for one of my friends. I'd always been science inclined, but I did that for one of my friends who wanted to study something in the business field, and the results came out, and I came out in flying colors. Got automatic admission
for
accounting.
But you did that for him.
Yeah, I did that for him.
But your name was on the.
Yes.
But you also were writing with your name for engineering.
No. I was already in engineering. I was in first year.
Got you. Okay.
I was in first year. So while I was in first year, I did that.
But if you were doing it for him at that time, why would you put your name?
It had to be my name because it had to match my face. And believe me, we're young. I was like 17 years old.
Yeah, but I heard of those runs, those things in Nigeria. But when you do it like that and he gets admission, what was the original plan? Is it to now change name, transfer the name? Like, how does that work?
I told you we bought two different forms.
Okay.
One had his name on it, the other had my name on it. They were submitted at the same time. So because they were right next to each other, we were at the same center. So he was sitting by my side.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I got distracted with trying to set up this. Okay, yeah. Okay, I get you now. All right.
So he got his admission, different school. I got the admission, same school, because it was the same environment where I grew up. I grew up in the same environment, and it was what I was used to. I didn't really want to leave the Enugu, Nsukka area because that's where I grew up. At first, it started like a little game. I registered. It was cheap. It was like 14 naira or so. The school fees for the entire session was like 14 naira. I paid it out of my pocket money. My parents didn't know about it. Matter of fact, they did not know till
Naira. What year was this one?
this was 1990.
Damn, that's a long time. 93, 40 years. I was not even close to. So you had two. So you were signed up second year engineering, first year accounting,
Yeah.
same school, different campuses. How did you go through? Did you finish the whole degrees for two of them? So you got an accounting degree and an engineering degree in the same school.
We had our girlfriends and our regular friends, and of course, our parents breathing down our necks as well. And when it was time to go for youth service, I had two different call-up letters. I had one for Akwa Ibom State and another one.
Wait, how did you get two different call-up letters? Is it because of the same background, like the accounting and engineering one?
Yes.
But did you use your real name or did you use your full name or did you use your middle name at first and all these things?
So for one of them, my name was full, the way it had always been from when I was in.
That's the engineering one, right?
Yeah, it was Chukwemeka
Mm-hmm.
all the way. But for the second degree, it was just Emeka. It was the brief form. Not like two different people, but it was just me.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. So, but when you actually started, and we're gonna get there, right? When you actually finished school, finished whatever, when you applied for a job, did you put that you had 2 degrees?
No, never. I never did that. What I always did was I never worked with my accounting degree because I didn't have that flair for business. I was always a technical person. So, you know, all the jobs I ever did in life had to do with technical stuff before I moved over to IT.
Okay. So yeah, you can go back to your story. So you got the degree, you got two call-up letters, then what happened?
Yeah, that's when I took them home, and
The what?
I took the call-up letters home,
Okay.
and to inform my parents, hey, it's time for me to go on the compulsory 1 year youth service. And my mom wanted to bring the roof down. She said, "Yeah, I knew it. You did something, to get posted to a Bible state because of the ladies." I took a step back and I said, "No."
Your mom knew what time it was.
But it wasn't that time. I took a step back and told her, "Hey, that's not true. I had no hand in this, and I was busy making sure my results were all in place. I didn't have time to do all that." She was already turning grouchy. So what did I do? I looked at the other call-up letter that was for Yobe State. I'd never been there in my life. And as an act of rebellion, I told him I was going to Yobe State. And I had made up my mind, you know. All right. I got dropped off at the park. It was going to be a night bus all the way to, it was, I don't like to remember that journey. Night bus from 9th Mile, somewhere in Enugu, to.
I know a nightmare, yeah.
Yeah, to Jos first. Then from Jos, we got there in the morning. Then the same bus continued all the way to Bauchi in Bauchi State. That was the last stop.
Before that, Had you ever gone to the north before?
Yeah, I think in my final year, I had visited the Yankari Game Reserve.
Where is that?
It's in Bauchi State. Well,
Okay.
it's actually not in Bauchi State. It was carved out of Bauchi, Yobe, and Gombe states. So the Games Reserve, the perimeter touches three different states in Nigeria. So it's a huge place. So I've been there for just a weekend, you know. So that was my only interaction.
So that had nothing to do with your choice
No.
of Yobe State
No,
over Akwa Ibom.
I didn't know nobody.
This was just pure rebellion.
Yes. I didn't know nobody. I didn't know any of my peers who was growing up there. Nobody. I just wanted to get out and go to a different place from where my mom felt, you know, I had um, I had designed for myself. So I got there, lived my regular life. It was home for me for a whole year.
What was your first impression going to the north? Actually living there. I don't know. Did you live in the rural area or you lived in the city?
All right. So youth service camp was in Potiskum, and Potiskum smelled like goat. From the minute you got there, like cow dung, goat dung. It smelled like animal waste.
So we're saying the countryside, the farmlands.
It
wasn't close to the city center, basically.
The city is actually rural as well. I mean, there are only a few places in the north that can be classified as
urban,
actual urban, centers. You count Kaduna, Kano,
Katsina.
Yeah, just a little bit of, like a little area in Katsina, Bauchi, Maiduguri. Besides those areas, no, it's not a city anymore. It's like a settlement, and the rural touch wasn't too far from any of those centers. So I mean, I got to Potiskum. It was new, and I met a guy on the bus, and he knew a few people in the town already, and so what we did was get off the bus, take a taxi to the market. He had an address, a market store address for his friend. We got there, and the friend took us to his house. In like the housing estate, government housing estate somewhere. And well, I took a shower. It started feeling like the reality hadn't even dawned on me then, because the main reason I was in the town, I hadn't gotten to the NYSC camp yet. So we got to the NYSC camp late in the night, like almost midnight, and it was the last day to report to camp. We got in there, nothing was organized. That was usual for Nigeria. Nothing was organized. We settled in, you know, ended up sleeping. I think we slept at the Mami market area that night. That's where we slept. Had a couple of bottles of beer and slept. And woke up the next morning, got fully registered, got our gear, boots and uniforms and stuff. And, started taking part in the drills. So that's when it dawned on me, hey, I've never really been away from home. I've never really been.
And how old were you at that time?
I was about 23, about 23 years old. So I've never really been away from home. But I was going to stick it out. I met a couple of people in camp who, finished from my school. I think there were like 4 or 5 of us from my school, like different departments that, we got together. And yeah, it became home we camped for about 2 months or a month. Can't remember. It's been a long while. My parents, when I got a chance to call them after a week, they were worried because they knew I'd never been up there and they didn't know anybody in the town, in Potiskum. So,
and I'm guessing, those times there was no phones and no Facebook or social media, just things that would make you, as a parent, be comfortable, being able to see what your kids are doing or just being kept up to date with what they're doing.
There was nothing like that. The only means of communication was, like the NITEL paid, we had NITEL cards for paid phones, So you buy a card, and you go to a payphone, slot the card in, and dial the city code and then your phone number for the house. We all had like landlines back then.
Where was this phone? Was it like a phone booth, like how we used to have phone booths?
Yeah.
So, but not like here where the phone booths are unmanned. You actually go into a store,
No,
like a shop.
these ones are unmanned too. No,
Oh, really?
yeah, the same
in
way.
the north.
Yeah, the same way you have the ATM machines and ATMs, everywhere.
Really, this is 94, 95?
No, 99.
Oh, 99. So in 99, in Yobe State in the north, in the areas that were not considered central or urban, they had unmanned phone booths where you could go in and put your Nitel cards
Yes.
and put a number and call.
Yes.
But your family had a landline.
Yeah.
Okay, so they should have a landline. Do they lock the phone booths?
No.
You're saying in 99, in rural areas, people were not stealing the phones?
No, there was no way you can't use them.
Okay, but you could sell them for like parts.
Who are you going to sell them to? These phones were pretty much attached to buildings.
Oh, okay.
They were attached to buildings. So, I mean, you could only sell them to Nitel because Nitel was the only service provider.
It's kind of like stealing an ATM, right? There's nothing to actually take. The money itself is.
So, yeah, that was the story of my school days. And right after the youth service year, I went back home and armed with my discharge certificate. Next deal was to start looking for work. It wasn't easy. Did a lot of aptitude tests.
What do you think were the major challenges to finding work fresh out of school, one of the best schools in the country, armed with 2 degrees?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I hear you sound very intelligent, probably got good grades. So what do you think were the major challenges for not being able to get a job at that time?
There were way too many people looking for employment at the same time. You needed to have an edge, but there was no time, to get that edge. The edge in this case would have been like an extra degree.
Like a postgraduate degree.
Postgraduate degree.
And experience. So back in 99, did they still have the same problem where they had earlier, later, where most people were looking for people with experience, even for new graduates?
It will never change. It will never change.
So even in fields like engineering, where you need interns, right? You need people to learn on the job. They still were reluctant to hire at that time?
Yeah, there were very few companies who were recruiting at that time. So you needed to have insider information, for one. And if you didn't have that, you depend on the Guardian newspaper on Tuesdays. Whatever money you had, you needed to save 18 hours.
Wow.
To be able to buy the Guardian newspaper on Tuesday.
For jobs. I think I remember that period because I used to have maybe like older cousins who would buy it and start looking for. I think I even did that too because I'm not that young to not remember when we used to buy when there was no online jobs posted. Yes.
So you go to the classifieds page on the Guardian newspaper. That's where you see ads for jobs and and the requirements. As God will have it, I had a friend back then who incidentally I had assisted, while we were doing the NYSC thing, and he got a job in Lagos. I was still at Enugu with my parents. He got a job.
Was he? You know him from a long time ago, right?
Yeah, we all worked together in Enugu.
But did he go to the same school you did?
No, he didn't.
Would you say that, and there's a reason I'm asking because I'll ask follow-up questions, would you say that this person could get more grades, better grades than you?
No.
So basically, we'll get there. We'll talk about the lack of meritocracy in Nigeria and how it helps to reshape the country, right? It's a big topic right now on Twitter, where they're going against, giving people jobs because of DEI, which is diversity and inclusion, which was actually done with noble reasons in mind to actually help people to catch up and people who have been historically disadvantaged, right, to catch up with the other people who they say historically have been oppressing people. But in Nigeria, it doesn't seem like there's meritocracy at even the most basic level. I think that it actually helps to degrade the society. Most of the people that I know in school, back in even secondary school, which is here, middle school or something like that, right? A couple of people who used to be like the best of the best in maths, for the maths, right? Who would actually get all A's from beginning of school, 6 years to the end of school, end of 6 years. They were just the best. Yeah. They went for competitions and, killed it. I know one of them, at the time I left Nigeria, was working at PZ. He was working at the junior engineer level. This guy was a genius. Yeah. Waste of talent. Yeah. And that's even a good story considering Nigeria, because some of them don't even have jobs. Yeah. And over here, from when you're like 10 years old and you start getting those type of grades, the teachers you get visiting people come to your class, say, where's that guy that's got this grade? Yeah. First of all, let's take this man and take him to another class and leave all these people to, this man needs to go to special ed, right? And then they start to nurture your talent. And what happens, what that does is that this is a society that recognizes the fact that, right, if this guy can add 1+1 and he can do it in 2 seconds where everybody's doing it in 7 seconds, if I isolate him and put him with a group of other people and give them a task, they might do this thing faster than anybody else and they might do it better. And then they can immediately translate and connect that thing to dollar value of what is being produced and immediately start scaling it out. Those societies are the ones that are actually leading. Nigeria is not inferior to other countries in that regard. They just don't know how to recognize talent.
I do not agree with you.
Mm-hmm. You don't agree? No. Wait, what don't you agree with?
About recognizing talent at an early stage and grooming that talent. I'll tell you something.
Well, you don't agree with doing that?
No, that it's not done in Nigeria. It is actually done.
Okay, tell me how it's done.
Let me tell you how it's done. I'm taking us farther back. I got into secondary school in 1986. I did 1 year at a federal government college. And after that year, grades were analyzed. And the kids who had an average performance higher than 90%, the top from 90 was a cutoff. And then the first 36 kids were picked who had 90 and above.
Mind you, this is 1986.
Yeah.
I'm circling that. 90, go ahead.
1986. So the first 36 kids were picked and we were put in a special class. It was called the class for gifted children. So
1986. Do you know that they don't do that no more here in Nigeria? They don't do it. That's what I'm trying to tell you. My criticism of the country is not over 30 years. Just think about it from 30 years now. Because if you study Nigeria as a country, right, the rot did not start from the beginning of the country. Our parents had it better. Our parents were recognized. My mom was very intelligent, and then she got special privileges that time.
The quality of education was a lot different, if you go further back,
Yes. But recognizing that thing where they take you to a special class is no longer done. I went to secondary school in the 90s, right? And by the time I got there, it was not done. We were all in the class. I was performing high too, right? But there were people who were performing higher than me as well. They didn't take them to no special class. All of us were there slugging it out. And I think that they should have taken them to a special class. There's some ideologies about say, okay, maybe you don't want to put discrimination and say, okay, this person is better than you, this person. But that's the argument with meritocracy, right? There's some people, just because they take you to a special class does not mean that you're more special than the other people. It just means that we recognize you, and it makes you have a mentality of keep doing what you're doing because there's somebody who appreciates the fact that you know maths. Right now, what I'm criticizing in the Nigerian society is the fact that the people who are getting maths, who are getting high scores of maths, are not superstars any longer. They used to treat them like superstars. They used to treat them like, man, this guy knows a lot. Now, if you're cool, if you know how to do many, many things and just be cool and get all the girls, you become the superstar, which is what people aspire to be now. Or if you get money, regardless of how you get the money, you're the superstar. Nobody in Nigeria asks how you get the money.
Yeah, that's the society it's been a bad role, in encouraging that, because when you accept mediocrity, then it becomes the standard, you know. So if you don't accept it, then
But that's the how do you not accept it? So that's why I'm interested in your story. And I got stuck. We got stuck where you were trying to find a job, right?
yeah,
And then there's a point that we're trying to get to so that we can understand, for instance, where did the country go wrong? I just picked up from you now that in 1986, they were taking people to special classes.
yeah,
And I'm just informing you from the 1990s, they were not taking nobody to any special class. They were still doing competitions. Like you get good grades, they recognize you. But the recognition is not firm enough to instill this. Like when I was in college, university, right? You'd be studying in grade and somebody tell you that, man, after you get this first class or this second class upper, you're still going to be there looking for a job with everybody who got 2-2 or everybody who got three third class. And the person who gets a 2-2 or gets a third class might even get a job before you do because of connections and because of other things, his hard work and stuff. But what encourages people who otherwise would get the high grade to actually get the high grade? But the main thing is that also, if you get a high grade in Nigeria, it doesn't really mean anything.
yeah, because like I said, how did you get that high grade?
Yes.
Because there's a saying where I come from that there are a lot of ways to skin a rat. If your aim or your objective is to get a 2-1 or a first class, you can approach it in two different ways. You could either buy it or you could earn it.
Yes. That's the thing about it is whether you buy it or whether you earn it. My argument right on this podcast is that you should be rewarded. Right? Because if you buy it, how did you get the means? There's some skills that you can use to contribute to somebody's business if you bought your degree. The first step to buying a degree is to recognizing its importance first.
Yeah, that's true.
Then the second step is to go get the money to actually buy the degree. It's not cheap. But the third part of it is whoever is hiring you should also do their due diligence to make sure that what they're looking for matches what you're offering. So if you bought your degree, you're supposed to fail interviews. You get what I'm saying? You're supposed to fail interviews. If you somehow manage to scam your way to get in the interviews, there's supposed to be processes within the company to make sure that you do not progress in your career or you get fired. Like there are things that should continually test you for your intellectual capacity to make sure that you don't do. So I'm not going to say, as part of my policy in the government, to say, okay, I'm not going to reward first class because people can buy it. That's not the first place you want to go put your controls.
All right.
That's not a sustainable way. You get what I'm saying? That's why I'm saying my argument here is reward everybody who there's nobody in Nigeria who has a first class or second class upper who shouldn't be at least given a job interview. Nobody. Like if somehow it should be made. You can't just make a policy and say, okay, everybody first class, second class get an interview. But you've seen it in countries where people say they do anti-discrimination laws, which means you can't just deny somebody the door because they're a woman or because they're black or because they're this thing. Somehow we could be creative and say, we want to fix our country. Right? There's rot in the society. We're not actually recognizing people who are smart. In other countries, they need people who are smart, intelligent, book smart, because book is something that somebody put in there.
Yeah, knowledge.
You get what I'm saying? To compete in AI, for instance, you need engineers that have no social life.
Yeah.
Sad truths. A lot of people, for instance, are angry about like DI. I mean, it's not DI, H1B.
Okay.
They're mad. They say, okay, don't bring the H1B people. We have Americans who can do the job. Where are they?
Do they really want to do it?
You get what I'm saying?
They could be there, but do they really want to
Have you ever seen an AI engineer jobless? White male. There's none. Zero. Me personally, I've been in IT for over a decade. I've not seen a white male IT person who's jobless. None. The jobs are oversaturated. They still need people, right? So the main thing I'm saying is that the skills that you need to compete. You need to do them. If you don't do them, nothing is going to happen. They're just going to actually outsource the jobs. A lot of all the jobs in Nigeria that smart people, book smart people that are supposed to do it, they outsource to China. The people, the engineers who make it to China, who make it to Nigeria, you see them, they wear glasses, they don't comb their hair, they wear shirts, they don't wear no fancy sneakers. They're just there to work. These people were book smarts.
Yeah.
Those jobs are outsourced. The people who can do the job were there. They're hustling in Aba markets. Because somebody told them that book smart is nothing. You just have to make a way. But it's mostly because the market is not paying, it's not supporting their type of skills. And we're losing out.
I see where you're coming from. That it's gonna take me back to my story because when, like I told you, when my friend got a job before me, it was in a totally different field from what we had studied. I think
He did engineering too.
No, he read accounting.
Okay.
But he was working like a customer service rep, selling software for travel agents.
Right.
You know. So how did I come in? I left home, moved to Lagos, and started hanging out with him at the office.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like going to different travel agencies and fixing on their computers and stuff. And so one day his boss called from the head office and said, that guy who fixes on computers for, our clients, why don't you make him a permanent staff? You know, that way we don't pay him, per job. He's on a payroll.
Right.
So that's how I got my first job, my first real job. Stuck at it, and from the little money I was getting paid, I tried to improve myself. Enrolled, in more IT courses and examinations, professional examinations, and did well.
While on the job.
Yeah.
How long was the job? How long did you have the job?
Like 2001 to about 3 years.
Okay.
And I decided, hey, it's time to move up. Saw an opening in, because now I had experience. I saw an opening in telecommunications, and I knew I could do the job for a company that was starting up. I knew I could do the job. I applied, went for the interview, did well, and I got it. And it paid good money back then when telecoms was, the thing in Nigeria.
So wait, how did you transition from that first company to the other side?
I gave notice.
Yeah, but how did you? So you gave a notice, but how did you? So you saw an opportunity in telecoms, right?
Yeah, because I mean, what was I doing at my first job? I was fixing computers, fixing everything IT.
Mm-hmm.
So I was used to the hardware, end of things. I knew I could do more because I'd gone through trainings and certification programs, so I was ready for more.
Okay.
So that's why.
Did you have to know somebody in the telecoms field before you made that?
No, I actually did
move?
not.
So you just put in your application and went through the interview process? Okay. So there's still merit-based hires in Nigeria.
Yeah. Actually, what happened was, I think the company was looking out for people with first-class degrees and second-class upper. So that I noticed after I had made it in there.
Was it a big institution? Are you a first class or second class upper?
Second class upper.
Okay.
So
was this an international telecoms company?
No, it was a company set up to bridge the gap between those other GSM providers, I call them GSM providers that we had, and between themselves, like the billing, issues that they were always having, so
just billing.
Yeah, so we were supposed to be in the middle to help with the connectivity issues and the billing issues. So that's what we did. It was a novel idea, and we were the first to do it in Nigeria, and it worked.
Oh, okay.
What I noticed over time after we started was that all the people around me had first class and second class.
Okay, so there were smart people.
Yeah, it was nothing below that. So that's why the company handled business the right way. There was no slacking. Anybody who left for something higher.
Okay, and the company still exists till today.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
So after a while, I think I got married when I got that job. Yeah, that's when I got married. Had my first kid. Then life, as I say, life differently. I'd gotten a bit older and I was thinking more about the future. Nigeria was getting worse. We just got out of a depression, like 2008 or something, you know. So that middle class is, starting to get eroded in Nigeria. So
That 2000 and
about 2009,
mhm.
2010. So in my mind, I said, my kids are gonna grow, and the way this country is going, it doesn't matter how much I am. I'm not sure I'll be able to provide the kind of lifestyle that I envision, you know, for my family in the next couple of years. So what did I do? I started looking for, work in a different sector. That's when I moved, transitioned from telecoms to banking.
So how long were you in this other company, the telecoms company?
6 years.
So cumulatively, you would say you were in IT maybe like 10 years or IT engineering.
When I moved to banking, it was still in the IT. It was still in the IT field. You know, I wasn't.
Okay, so you didn't change. It's not like you went into finance. You
No,
went straight in.
no.
Okay, okay, got you.
I was still in the IT. I wasn't customer facing at all. So I was still in the IT department.
So how did you move from the telecoms field to the, not the type of job, but the field, the field? How did you change jobs? Did you have to know somebody in the destination?
Definitely, I knew a couple of people who were higher ups.
Did you try the regular way, which is applying first and then
No,
did not succeed and
no,
then you decided to go
no, I
that
did
route?
not. I did not. In Nigeria, at a certain age, there are some jobs you cannot get unless they are direct referrals.
Referral.
So at that point, for me, it was direct referral. I was ancient, closer to, I was between 30 and 40. So, nobody's going to hire me as like a fresh
Mm-hmm.
employee at that age. It had to be the direct referral. So that's how I got in.
Okay.
So I got in, and yeah, I like fixing stuff and I like making things work. It was working. Life was good. The bank will provide you the resources, to
To
live.
succeed on your job.
Yeah, succeed on the job and live a little bit, above board.
But you still,
But I still wanted more.
I'm one of the reasons why you wanted more was because of the society. I mean, the state of the economy.
The economy.
So, do you remember how much the dollar was to naira?
Oh yeah, of course I do. Back then the dollar to the naira exchange rate was in. I'll go back to 2000 and not too long ago, 2010, 11. It was still about 13, 14, 14,000 naira to $100. So it was like, how much is that now? Like 140?
Mm.
Yeah, about that. And it was at that, rate for a couple of years till 2016, 2015, 2016.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
That jump.
that is what,
Yeah,
that's when like, tripled
went up. Yeah.
or doubled.
1 second. Them always relegate.
What's this game?
Okay. Charge. Where is it? All right, so we have you changing companies at a time in your life where you've had at this point over a decade of experience, and now you're able to move companies by using referrals instead of the struggle of putting out your resumes
And going up the wrongs.
and doing all those things. So in 2009, the dollar to naira value was 140 naira to $1. You have over 10 years of experience working IT. You got tired of working in one company. You moved to the bank. You were able to change sectors without too much hassle. You started to look at the economy and look at the disappearing middle class. And you had just got married. You had maybe one kid or two.
Kids.
You started to think that, no matter how much I earn, I might not be able to send my kids to private schools comfortably, which means you send and still have a lot of money left to actually do stuff, buy a couple houses, or just, expand, because a lot of things will happen in country that were independent of how much you had developed your skills, how much you had crafted your life. You just thought that it was time to consider going out, as I assume.
Yeah, I did that, and looking at Nigeria, it wasn't gonna happen there. So I started looking at my options. At first, I looked at England, and while I was looking at England, I was looking at the United States as well. And
What was your thought process even looking at options at that point?
opportunities, where would someone with my skills, education, and experience fit in, seamlessly, and be able to stand on my 2 feet economically within the shortest period of time.
So, where were you getting this information from? Did you? And the reason why I'm asking the follow up questions right now is when I sit down and I get reached out by somebody from Nigeria who wants to go abroad, right? They sometimes have a already formulated thing they want to do. Is like, okay, I want to get a visa to Spain. I want to get a visa to Portugal. Oh, there's this program. One of my friends told me that I can get to Canada, right? A lot of times I see that these people do not actually do their research on like what's life after you get to Spain, right? Are there things like when I finish school or whatever, finish that program, is there a job waiting for me? Is it hard or not difficult to get a job here versus here? They just want to get out. So I just wanted to understand what you were thinking, your thought process at that point.
I consulted the internet, Google, and through Google, I got to Quora. Quora is where
Yeah,
yeah,
Quora.com.
you get a lot of people posting questions and real life experiences, and there's a thread. People you can read through people's responses, and if you're smart enough, you get a good picture from those responses that would guide you in your decision making process. So that's what I did. I never trusted, you know, calling friends or family members who were either in England or in the United States. I didn't call them because I realized that nobody actually tells you how it is. Nobody will tell you, hey, it's okay or it's not okay, because no two stories are the same. I learned it myself. No two people have the same
So
story.
that's a very interesting point you raised, right? And I want to ask a follow up question. You said that nobody really tells it as it is,
Yes.
and then you also said that no two stories are the same. So which ones were you actually encountering more? Were you encountering people that would tell a story very summarily? They just summarize the story and they just like rush over the details, or did you encounter people who did not even want to share
People who did not want to share.
more than the other
Yeah,
way? Okay,
on the other way. Most of the people I tried to
yeah.
get information from weren't ready to.
Are you gonna say that's typical of Nigerians in general?
Well, it's typical of Nigerians because I still see people that way here. But one of the thing that I learned is that whereas a couple of years ago in Nigeria you could mask, the true situation of things, like by telling a cover-up story when life isn't so rosy. You could let people believe that, hey, I'm living a good life. I drive the best cars, I
Right,
live in the
right, right.
best house. But for me, over time and over the years I've lived here, I learned to say it as it is. I have no reason to mask my words. I say it as it is. So if anybody reaches out to me to ask me, hey, what's that? What's the immigration process like? How do I live here? How do I settle in? I will tell the person. I'm in a good position to tell the person, hey, this is how you move inch by inch. It's not an easy road, because getting acclimatized to a different society, a society that functions different from what you grew
You
up
would
with,
need some external input, at least somebody who's been there.
and then it's a different way of life. So you also need to watch and learn.
So it's now your position that if only Nigerians were open to that idea, like you,
right information, it would be seamless to transition from living in Nigeria to living in the United States. That is, it brings me to another thing I wanted to talk about today. You know, because I notice a lot of young people when they get here, they try to live their lives as, in quotes, Americans, and forget that innately they are still Nigerian, regardless of how long they've stayed here, their citizenship status, they're still Nigerians. And there was a reason, we all came here. I told my life story in a few minutes, for a purpose, my movement or my immigration from Nigeria to the United States was to get a better life for my family. I'm Igbo, Nigerian, and would believe so much in family. My parents gave me a good education. That is, from my point of view, that was their investment in their future because they could have lived life to the fullest, with the resources that they put towards educating me. They could have lived their own lives to the fullest.
Do you have siblings?
Oh, yeah, I do.
Okay.
I have 3 siblings.
Okay. Are you the first?
No, I'm the second.
Okay. So did they send the other person? So your parents did not send you abroad.
No, they didn't.
They didn't contribute to sending you abroad.
No.
But they did contribute a lot towards your education and your training in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's where you're talking about.
Because the schools where, they had me enrolled in, played a large role in molding the America that you see today. So I know that if I had gone to a different school, maybe something of lower quality, then I wouldn't be who I am today.
Okay.
I would say I speak flawless English today not because of what I learned at the university, no, but because I went to a very, very good elementary school. I didn't speak much English in the university. It was mostly pidgin.
Elementary school, you're talking about this before you were even 10 years old?
Yes.
Okay. So you're saying your foundational language dexterity, you got it from very little age.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And from when I was in primary school, my dad used to be like a supervisor and vigilator for JAM. So the past questions, he'll bring them home. So I noticed in the closet in his bedroom, he always had like stacks of the use of English questions for JAM. So from when I was in primary school, I would go through those questions. I could answer JAM questions in English comfortably.
So what I'm getting to also is, because I try to highlight, Nigerian story and African story in the diaspora, and then the uniqueness of it all. And, just to buttress your point that everybody's story is different. Yeah, you at this stage, you're like a sum of all your experiences. So you gave credit to, first, the story has been everywhere, but I think first we started with how you were trying to choose how you were in school and you had a dual degree by some, twist of fate, right? And then you went the NYSC, and then we went back to like when you actually in the 80s, got to school and all those things. And now you're telling me that your dad was actually an educated person, right? Yeah. So what I'm seeing now is that I'm understanding your journey. Your journey did not start from you. Your journey started from having middle-class parents. The ability of a middle-class parent, Nigerian parent in the 80s, to afford to send their kids with aid from the government, or now without aid from the government, but ability of your parents to send you to schools that have a solid foundation goes a long way to elevating not just your chances, which is debatable, your chances of succeeding in life, but your ways of thinking, your mode of expression, and in general, the person that you foundationally become, the foundation of who you are before you start layering other things. So because the reason why I'm saying this is now that the middle class is not existent in Nigeria now, and it has going to have consequential effects on the next generation of Nigerians.
Oh, it already does.
A large effect, yeah. So you having that background really helped you. And I want to take you back because I want the storyline. I want people to actually watch these videos and get an idea of your path, your journey, right? So with all this new information that we've gotten now of your rich parental history, your dad was actually an educationist.
Rich.
Who,
Okay.
yeah, who made sure that you had books. And then we're gonna take it back to when you were sitting down thinking about, damn, this country is messed up. The middle class is disappearing. I have a good job, but for my calculation, this good job is not gonna help me out in any way. So now I have to look outside. So now I'm reaching out to these people outside. They're not giving me information, or they're giving me information that I have to do, but I know that my background does not support, right? So let's take it back to that point and let's see where you went from there.
All right. I made up my mind one bright sunny afternoon. Made up my mind, hey, I'm done. It's time to make that move from Nigeria to the United States. And I moved.
Wait, wait, you moved. How did you move? Like, what exactly? You said that you started to look at the UK, and that's where I kind of trailed off. So,
Okay.
uh-huh.
I was looking at England and looking at the United States as, viable options. But I had to pick one because I couldn't be in two places at the same time.
So why did you pick what you picked, and what was your?
I had looked at like I said, I was on the internet for a long
Quora?
time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on Quora for a long time. And what I was looking at was the ease with which I could move into either the telecoms industry or the information technology industry, in either of the two nations,
Countries.
and I was looking at the rate of employment, the turnover unemployment in both countries as well. And what I saw for England did not encourage me.
2009.
No, this was 2014.
And when you say the telecoms, you're talking about the industry. You're not talking about the IT in telecoms.
No,
You're looking at telecoms, and
Yeah.
so you were looking at the industry that
Yes.
you might transfer to, not because some people. Okay, all right.
The role. So, because with the certifications and trainings and education that I amassed over the years, I knew I could fit it into multiple positions in any chosen industry. So I narrowed it down and started walking towards it. Applied for a visa to the United States.
Wait, also you decided against the UK
Yes.
because you saw that there wasn't a future in that industry, or that it was shaky,
Yeah.
and then you did the same analysis with the US and saw that it was looking better, career opportunities wise, in your field at the moment.
And it was going to be easier, it was going to be easier to get some kind of residency status.
Good. That's the point
in
that
the
I
United
was.
States,
Okay.
when compared to England,
Perfect.
for what I plan to do with myself. So that's what influenced my choice.
Okay. So for the viewers, right? You because a lot of people, when they see people outside here, a lot of Nigerians think it has a lot to do with luck, which it does have a lot to do with luck, right? Some people get denied for flimsy stuff, but I don't think that explanation tells the true story. And I say this to say because the time has come for Nigerians to be thinking more based on process than on faith and magic. A lot of Christians are going to disagree with me, but look at how we're
magic.
Yes, look at how we analyze. And this goes to your point where you say you're Nigerian, you call a Nigerian friend that's living in America. And this conversation is, hey man, I'm thinking of relocating you. How you take rich there now? What did you do? And then he just tells you, man, now God. Now God might be true, but it does not do anything for the next guy.
That's not the process.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything for the next guy, so it doesn't do anything for the country. One of my arguments is that faith has actually done bad to Nigeria more than it has done any good. Both the Christian faith, the Muslim faith. Well, I don't know about the other faiths because we never really lived in that society, right? But the doctrine of Christianity, even though I'm a Christian and I practice, it's not really doing too much good in the society. One of the reasons being is that if, for instance, I'm doing very well in my life and somebody comes and asks me and say, hey, so how did you make it? One of the first things Nigerians will tell you, man, it's been God all the way. Well, I'm glad that it's been God all the way. And it's good to actually say that so that the person starts to look up to God, right? But most times, you don't have time to evangelize for this person to get him to God anyway, right? But this person is a Nigerian. He supposedly pays taxes. If you have some sense, right? If you get a group of people to earn more money, it means more money for the government. And if the government is not corrupt, blah, blah, blah. But in general, if 5 Nigerians do better than one Nigerian,
That's progress.
That's progress, right? But with faith-based success, you can't explain it. You can't replicate it in the society.
It's not motivational, really.
It's
not.
Yeah, because now we've gotten to the point where I'm asking you details, right? And now you've told me you did analysis. You went to Quora.com. I know just last week somebody hit me up. Is telling me that, oh, he wants to go to the US, so I should help him with money. No, sorry, not US. He wants to go to Greece or something. I should help him with money. And I'm like, okay, why Greece? And it's like, oh yeah, my friend told me that the school that I go, once I get into school, I'm just gonna be, it's easy to go. This man has not done any research on when I land there. After 1 year of struggling, is there a pathway to like citizenship? Is there a pathway to residency? Is there a pathway to go somewhere else? Is that like, even if he has researched it, I don't know. He's not even told me, right? So the guy he called did not put him on all his real struggles and just told him, probably told him at one point in time, say, don't worry, you will get it. Which is just like saying, now God, basically just like, believe it. Don't, believe it. But what I'm saying is that we need to get to the mindset as Nigerians where we are able to tell somebody, step A, do this. Step B, do this. Step C, do this. Now, yes, everybody's story is different, but guess what? Take that 3 steps I gave you, step A, step B, step C, and you fail. You will know what step failed.
Exactly.
And then you will know, you'll be able to zone in and tell somebody, another person, that, okay, I did step A, step B, step C. I failed in step B because this is not my use case. But guess what? I was able to plug in step E in place of step B because the step E is my use case. And then it keeps building on the stuff, right? You're able to now replicate it to another person.
Yeah, because you're applying the principles of science to it.
Into this decision making. So that's where I'm going. I'm sorry to actually cut your story short because we're going back to that story. So you did your research on your industry and your job, and then you said to yourself, man, I'm going to this country to not just come back. I'm going to look for better means for my family. So I need to actually have a future in this country. So you looked at it, okay, what's the fastest way to get a residence? What's the fastest country that's going to get me permanent residence? Yeah.
Yeah, I did. And it was the United States. I applied for a visa, got it, and moved over here. And because I already had like a plan, I moved to a city of my choice, closer to where I knew had potential for employment in the field that I had chosen for myself.
Wait, so let's take a step back, right?
Yeah.
So you decided it was the US. How did you make it to the US, basically?
I applied for a tourist visa.
Okay.
Went for a visa interview,
Mm-hmm.
and I was as truthful as possible.
Right, and then you
got the visa.
Okay. So that makes sense. So just like you didn't go through denials and stuff.
No.
Okay, so
it was my first time.
What do you think helped you to get that visa faster and not get a denial first? Would you say it's luck, or would you say it's because you have had a stable job for 10 years? Did you have properties at the time? The reason why I say all these things is not just to call you out or anything. It's just so that, people who are watching this could have they listen to it. Some of them are going through the same thing and see maybe if this thing's worked for you, basically, the whole gist.
Yeah. So I would say the job played an important role, and family. And for some reason, I think the guy behind the desk knew I was not faking it. The guy behind the desk knew because
He asked about your job history,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
you submitted
he
documents
asked.
to show that and just went there.
I just went there,
Hmm.
just went there casually. It was a Friday, I think, and I was dressed down. Just went over there.
Did you know that you were going to be given the visa?
Matter of fact, I didn't know. It was perfunctory. I just went in there, believing I had done everything I needed to do,
Mm-hmm.
and
You didn't have to pay nobody, nothing.
I did the application myself, and um, answered I had nothing inflated. My income was exactly what it was. I know they may, as at that time, I don't think it was investigated, but a few people who were standing next to me who I knew had inflated their income. They got denied. I don't know how it happened, but it did happen because they were standing in line with me, and I spoke with them
Afterwards.
When we met in the parking lot. I spoke with them, so I knew there was something. They did something with their income. Not everything about mine was as straightforward as could be. And when the guy behind the desk had asked me about my job, and I spoke for 30 seconds, he just told me, "Hey, have a lovely vacation."
Was that the only question he asked?
That was the only question.
What exactly was he asking? Was he saying, "What do you do?" Or tell me about your daily?
What do you do on a day-to-day basis at work?
Okay.
I took a deep breath, and before I spoke like 2 sentences or 3 sentences, I told me, well, that's enough.
Did he ask you how long you've been on the job?
No, I didn't. But I mean, all those would show on the back end.
On the back end.
Because you filled it out in your application.
Okay. Did he ask you about family and anything?
It was all in the application. So
Okay. That's interesting. So you got it to the United States, then you moved to a city that so before you decided on the city or where to move, did you do your research back home, or did you do your research when you landed in America?
I did my research back home.
Okay.
Because, I didn't want to have to deal with adverse weather. One.
So you looked for a place that was warmer?
Because I had to look for a way to transition from the class of visa that I had to what would enable me work in the United States. So
it was a rough time.
Yeah.
Did you have to now, it was a struggle. So did you have to do like menial jobs like all of us did? Like a lot of people don't know the stories in Nigeria.
Menial jobs for considerable length of time.
What's the most menial job, if I should use that word, that you ever did in the United States?
I think the most menial thing I did was work as a stacker at a warehouse, and a job that usually took like 3 people to do. I was doing it alone.
Wow. And you were stacking, the things that you were stacking were really heavy, I'm assuming.
They were not heavy. But they had to be stacked in a specific manner, and there was a lot.
How many hours did you have to work per day?
About 10 hours.
Ooh, 10 hours. I'm mostly standing, I'm assuming. And this is somebody who, had 2 degrees, accounting engineer, one of the best universities, actually the second university ever in Nigeria.
Desk jobs all through my life.
Did desk jobs, worked IT and, telecoms engineering for over 10 years. Had a family, that was living good, upper middle class in Nigeria, came to America and worked a menial job in a factory, stacking and working for 10 hours. So while you were doing that job, what was going through your mind?
I knew it was a means to an end. I had goals.
Hmm.
And the only way I wasn't going to steal money, to pay my lawyers for the filing process for permanent residency. I was going to steal money.
So all that while you needed to actually raise money to file.
Yeah, to raise money. And, this was the only way forward that I could see. And I thank God for creating that avenue, So I did all that work with a smile on my face. And that smile was recognized actually, because the people I worked for, they gave me everything I asked for. I got regular raises with employees who were
in the factory.
yeah, with other people who were like permanent employees. I got raises alongside those people, you know, because they saw that I was different.
And you say you attribute that to just having a nice demeanor
Yes.
and being.
I did not select, or choose what assignment I was assigned, whatever job I was assigned on the job, you know. Matter of fact, I picked the most tedious of all the tasks. That's what I picked. Nobody told me, hey, go stand over there. The first day I was in there, I looked at it and people were running away from that role. The second day, I went over there.
And why did you do that?
Because, I'm a smart person. That's that job that nobody wants to do. It means they're actually looking for someone.
People to do it.
Yeah.
Did you? So you're not saying you did it for job security?
Yes.
You did it for mostly job security. Okay.
Because it paid off in the long run because I didn't have to jump from one warehouse to another warehouse. I was in the same warehouse till I finished the process.
And that is a very important point because I have seen the more common examples of people coming over from, Nigeria and other places that work in warehouses. They want to get the job done with the least amount of energy that they can. Some people become very sneaky with their hours. I'm saying this because I've worked in one before, right? And, they want to like play around like you. Most Nigerians have a longer term plan to do something bigger than what they're doing at the warehouse, right? But some people forget that, you could be goal oriented long term and you could be goal oriented short term and still benefit from all of those things. And also, it helps to build character that can be transferred to your long term goals, right? Because some of them, don't fully, invest in themselves or that work that is low paying, demeaning, and all those things, but fail to realize that they had short term goals. Like in your in your case, you had to have a stable mind to be able to raise money for the single most important thing at that point, which is to file.
Yes.
Right? So you were very particular about maintaining that single job because a change in jobs might lead to another change and have this instability. I've seen that in a lot of people immigrating, right? They change jobs a lot and it causes friction with their spouses. So if they marry an African American or any type of American and then they start changing jobs, it kind of causes some financial friction and now goes and trickles down to affect their legal process because this person starts to strain their relationship. Whereas in your case, and I'm assuming that helped too as well, with having this mentality where, okay, I need to keep this job that I'm having, even though it's beneath me, in quotes, right? But I have to keep it because I have to have a stable means to support this process. Exactly. And then when I get this, I can move on to the next. Yeah. Is that the case?
Yeah, that's what it was. And half of the time, while I was doing that during the day, I also need to add that at night. I would go out and work as a security guard, not for a few hours, for the entire night.
Wait, so after working 10 hours in the factory, you now go and work so how did you, where did you sleep? How did you
sleep? No, I was driven.
Wow.
I was driven. It was like the devil was after me. I was driven, like fully driven. There was a period I did not sleep for 8 days. That's the longest I've gone. Like I worked 2 jobs straight, 8 days before I got a break. And I need to also say that half of the time it was in the winter too. So I'd be out all night. But I was in my car doing the security thing. I was watching like the trade center. So I was in my car just observing the parking lot. I did not fall asleep because there was a supervisor who always drove around. I didn't have else to check to see what was going on. So,
how long did you maintain this routine of working those 2 jobs and those incredible hours?
About 2 years.
2 years straight.
Yeah, about 2 years.
That's crazy.
About 2 years. Yeah, I still have a good relationship with both jobs.
Really?
I still do. Because the people I've met, on those two jobs, yeah, they were my first real friends in the United States. I still have a good relationship with uh, the management and the employees, at both places. I still go around and visit, and when we have functions, at home,
Mm-hmm.
they do come over, and I go visit them as well at home. So my friends and family now.
Yeah, I see how those things work because even I think this other company that I worked with, I went in there recently and they still remembered me, right? But like you said, it's back to your point of making an impact wherever you are, whatever you think the job is.
Yeah,
It goes to your character and then, it goes to your goal orientedness.
that drive. Another thing that uh, pushed me, to go above and beyond was there was a period. There was a young man I lived with when I first moved over here. Because I wasn't gonna come out here straight and get accommodation. No, that wasn't gonna happen. So I put up with someone I knew from Lagos, and for a while, and then he had to go away, and uh, I wasn't making enough, to pay the rent where we used to live together,
Right.
because the apartment was not in my name.
Mm.
I got evicted at some point.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got evicted in the middle of winter, like
This was when you had those two jobs?
just before,
Oh, okay.
just before.
So you were evicted and you had to put up with him?
No,
Or that was before?
when I first moved here, I lived with him for a few months. Then I got evicted. You know, where he had to go. He had to go somewhere for a period of time, and I was left alone in the apartment without a real plan of what to do to meet up that rent. And because the apartment was not in my name, that was a red flag already. So the management of the complex changed the locks. They did not inform me because
You just came home one day, you couldn't get in?
yeah, I couldn't get it.
Dang.
So I spent like three nights, 3 nights in the car in the middle of winter. You know, and you know how it is when you turn the heat on. Yeah, it's nice and warm in the car, but you can't leave the heat on. You can't leave the engine running all night. So the minute you turn it off, you're cold.
Wow.
And
So that's where you spend the night.
yeah, and everything I had was in the apartment. No clothes. I had like a thin pair of pants, on for those 3 days.
Hmm.
A light jacket on my body.
So for 3 days, that was your life.
Yeah.
Wow. So how did you get out of that phase? This was 3 days. Basically, what you're trying to tell us is that you've been homeless in America.
I was homeless. I was homeless for about half a week, till I picked up the pieces of my life, moved to a nearby city, got another job, and
Mm-hmm.
started living, sharing rent with somebody. And I never looked back from there. So because I've been homeless for a few days or a few nights, I never wanted to experience that again.
So that went into some of your motivations
Yeah.
with even how you move
It was
now,
the root of
how
my
you
drive.
hustle and stuff
Yeah,
like
it's the
that.
root of my drive. So I can't stop.
What pushes you more now? Is it your immigrant story and the struggles that you had, or your struggles when you were actually struggling in Nigeria? When you wake up at night, boom, what scares you the most going back to either of those phases?
It's going back to what could have been in Nigeria. Not what was, because I was fairly comfortable.
Right, right, right.
But
Mm-hmm.
what could have been? What if I wasn't here? You know, walking where I walk today, earning what I earn today, being able to support my immediate family and my extended family the way I do. What if it wasn't there? Where would everybody be?
Mm.
You know, so that's a scary thought. But when I realized that, hey, I'm awake, this is where I am, and nothing has changed. You know, I relax and
And do,
keep living.
yeah. That's a very interesting story. We haven't gotten to the end of it yet. So after you had 2 years working two jobs, hardly sleeping, came through from being homeless for half a week. What time would you say, and what instigated that time, right? What time would you say you broke out of that struggle phase in America in your immigrant journey? And what made you realize that I'm done struggling? At least struggling is, this period of uncertainty where we always had in America before we now got to a point where we can talk here for 2, 3 hours without wondering I've lost hours and I'm not making money.
The truth about it is, from the minute I filed for change of status,
Mm-hmm.
of my status, I realized no, it wasn't for that minute. Because after I filed for change of status, there was an incident. I had to drive a relative who was visited, to a different part of the state. And I did not realize I had to go through like an immigration checkpoint,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
on the way. And on the drive down there, it was about 11 hours from where I live. On the drive down there, I didn't make no checkpoint. So on the way back, less than 45 minutes after leaving the city we visited, we got to a checkpoint. Everybody had to stop. You know, they asked for my papers, ID, and stuff. I didn't have none to give them.
Whoa.
So it would have
This
been
time you had not gotten your permanent residence or
no,
anything.
nothing. I had nothing to give them. But luckily, I think I had just received a letter from USCIS, the immigration service, to say that they had received my application for change of status and they were processing my file. So I had a letter.
And you had a physical letter in your hand.
No, I didn't have a physical letter. I had like a picture
Oh, okay.
of it. That was the only thing I had.
So they asked for something.
Yeah, they asked for
And
something.
that eventually that's what you showed them.
That's what I showed them on my phone, and the officer said, "Hey, you look like a really nice guy, you know, else you would have been jittery, but you're not jittery."
That's what he said?
That's what he said.
Wow.
You're not jittery. You're not scared. That means you're not a criminal. You're not a bad person. So I'd really like to help you, but give me something.
This was before you showed him the picture?
Yes,
Okay.
give me something. I need something to work with. And I said, okay, I already applied to change my status, you know, and do you have anything to show that? I told him, matter of fact, the previous evening, I received a letter from your office. Do you have the letter? No, but I have a picture of it. Let me have it. I showed him on my phone. Well, he took my phone, and you know how the old iPhones do. He took it to the office.
He told you to unlock the phone?
Yeah, I unlocked the phone. He took it over there. It got locked for like 2 hours. No response. Nobody came back to the car.
Really?
Yeah, after 2 hours,
Wow.
he came back and told me the phone got locked. He was trying to show it to a superior officer, but the phone got locked. I unlocked it again. He took it back, and then he came back, handed the phone to me, and told me, "You're good. You're in the system, but make sure you always have a physical copy of this document with you at all times."
And that was Mexico proper?
No,
Or it wasn't Mexico?
that was El Paso. That's on the border.
Okay, okay, okay,
It
okay.
was El Paso. So got back to town. It was a scary moment for
When you just realized that what could have been.
yes, it was a scary moment, but I was relaxed. I knew I wasn't really doing anything wrong in the country. This is a country that recognizes genuine hard work. And if you do not show government officials or the law, if you don't show the law that you are not law abiding, there's no reason for the law to believe you're not. So back to where I stopped, I would say that was the point of my turning point. From that minute, I knew I was here to stay.
What of like career wise or savings wise, income wise, and all those things that will give you a sense of, I have security to the point where I'm okay. I still will have to hustle and I still have to do what I can, but for now, I'm good. I could now, settle down and hustle. I can't be, doing all this extra stuff anymore.
Yeah. Over time, like I think after the first year working in a warehouse, I got raises, and I was at par with other employees, at the place who had been there for years. Matter of fact, I think I started earning more than
Then those people.
people who had been there for 8 years, So, because management did not want to hear that I wanted to leave because they had no immediate replacement for me for what I did at the place. So I was getting raises sometimes 3 times a year. So
that's impressive.
Yeah, so I was still doing the security thing, and on freelance scale this time. Anytime I didn't have too much to do, I just had to be paid here.
All this while you had 2 kids.
3 actually.
3 kids.
Yeah.
A wife
Yes.
who was dependent on you.
Yes.
Your parents.
Yes.
Maybe some of your wife's relatives too.
Oh yeah, sure.
Or somebody. So all those people were dependent on you. Do you think right now that all of these people fully understand, number one, and then number two, fully appreciate the journey that you went through and what that was able to do for them? Honestly.
I don't think they do.
Why do you think so?
Because to me, I would say I was pretty much doing the same when I was in Nigeria. So there was no stop or there was no pause. It just continued. I'm sure they felt like nothing really changed. I was still being my regular self. I'm sure that's how they felt.
Mm-hmm.
The only way you'll be able to tell this story is if you live this story yourself. That's the only way you'll be able to tell this story.
Are they even fully aware of the things that you had to do?
Yeah, they were the picture. And the thing is, if you're not the one doing it, you're not the one doing it. You don't feel that pain. You don't feel your knees about to go out on the you because of the length of hours, length of time you have to stand and work. Yeah, you can tell someone that, but would a person feel it? No.
That's interesting. If you were to, before I even ask that, let me follow up on that one. What would have counted as appreciation from the people who we would call you dependents, right? What could you have seen in their attitudes or otherwise that would have made you? I know you're proud of doing what you do because this is your blood, right? And somehow this is your responsibility. But what would have counted as even more appreciation? And, their attitudes or their demeanor or this thing, or even in future?
For my family, I don't have a problem with that because I did what I had to do because that was what I had to do. The people I have an issue with would be my friends and acquaintances, people I had met on the way, at some point in my life, who I had to assist because they have, they still have this entitlement mentality. He's not here. They don't want to know what kind of work I do. They don't want to know how much I am. They don't want to know what my bills are. All they care about is, hey, I think the dollar is like a thousand naira to $1 today. I'm gonna call him, and he needs to send me $100 because that's what I need. And they don't try to sit back and think, is it convenient for him to do that? You know,
These are people back home in
yeah,
Nigeria.
these are people back home in Nigeria. Yeah, I mean, I'll do what I can, but when it becomes a strain, I'll come out and say, hey, I can't do this right now.
So, yeah. So for your family, you feel like you do your responsibility, and appreciation comes, it doesn't come. It's just what it is, right? For the friends, that have this sense of entitlement that you're doing better, so you have to help. It kind of tells that they don't even know what you went through, even back home, the things that you had to go through to avoid begging people who you knew could help, but you didn't know, you didn't feel entitled to the money. And to the story that you came through here and you don't have it easy. You did not have it easy, never had it easy. They don't appreciate that. And I think it resonates with a lot of stories that a lot I hear from even people on the show, because just like you've done, right? There's a lot of people tell their stories, and I like to hear everybody's stories because it tells a different story. But people from back home, they just pick up the phone and call you, and they want what they want. And if you tell them you're in the bad books already, they don't have that knowledge of the struggles, and even not just the past struggles, but now you could go broke anytime in America. I mean, Donald Trump can get broke in America, depending on, because when the country comes down on you, it does come down on you as a heavyweight. So it's important that these people actually understand that, okay, it's not that easy, and then you don't just get handed up over things that you're not entitled to anything. Basically, I could be your buddy, and I could still love you, and not have to want to give you anything because it's just
what's mine is mine. Really, if I want to, or if I can,
ideally maybe you should, right?
But don't ask me a million times.
You get what I'm saying? Yeah. No, that's interesting. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to, tell us the stories and be even detailed about it, which is what we hear here on Serious But Not Too Serious. We try to, shed light on the stories of unique individual. I feel like most people who have come to this country have shown dexterity, they've shown hard work, they've shown the most important thing, determination. That's the first step, right? To get a visa in Nigeria is not a walk in the park. To get a visa to the United States, which is the most requested for destination in America, is not a walk in the park. So it already puts you above like 80% of the country in terms of how much you're determined to make your life better, right? And then you come in here, and a lot of people don't even have papers, or they have expired papers, and they have to do a lot of other things to get to where they are. And then when they get to where they are, they don't really appreciate themselves or how far they've come. We want to change that, and it also goes into how they have little gratitude for where they are. And I mean, it happens to me. Sometimes you think about, man, there's a lot of things happening and stuff. Maybe things are so bad, but you don't give yourself enough credit. If you're able to lay out your life on a piece of paper, just like you've done on this podcast, from beginning or something from an earlier point in life to now, you can see as you talk, you could be like, you want to pat yourself in the back and say that, man, I've done some things bad, but I've done a lot of good things to get me to this point. But not only have you just done it for yourself, you've been able to impact at least 5, 6 lives. These 6 people would also, because of the places that they've been able to be placed, because of some of your effort, would have kids, would have other things, and they will go ahead to affect a lot of people. And people don't give credit to that. But the buck stops here. Here on Serious But Not Too Serious, we're going to give where credit is due. And today, the light is shining on Mr. Emeka. Thank you very much for everything that you do. If they don't appreciate you, I'm going to appreciate you. You're the man. Your story is phenomenal. And we're going to talk more about some other things, but today we just want to celebrate you. And if you're out there struggling, you just came to America 2, 3 years, you heard this man. He worked 10 hours in the factory, and then he worked the other night shift as a security guard. He was sleeping on the duty, but his eyes were open because somebody was moving around, making sure people don't sleep. He took the jobs nobody wanted to take, and he rocked it, getting to earn even more than the people that were before him. All that while he was making sure that he paid his legal documents and his lawyers to get his permanent residence. He was supporting a family of 4 while doing this. And here he is standing. He has savings, he has investments, he's doing well. Everybody's good. And you can do it too. Serious but not too serious. MC Unruly. Till next time. Peace.